Hello once again. Well, it seems things are really hotting up in the world of late. And the current escalation in the Middle East has many people very worried that Iran will retaliate once again in the near future. But only Iran knows the answer to that. Many years ago, I worked for a really nice couple, Mr. and Mrs. Gaharitz, and they introduced themselves as Persians and kindly offered me to sit with them for their meal, which was certainly different. And I really enjoyed the moment to interact with them. And they were here in England promoting the Baha'i faith. Now, the Baha'i faith is a religion that originated in the 1900s, around 1850, and is considered one of the world's youngest major religions. And the aim of the Baha'i faith was to unite all the world's religions into one. Unfortunately, not very successful so far. And at that time in my life, in the early 80s, I wasn't really educated in either geography, politics, or religion, come to that. But it transpired that Persia was one of the world's biggest empires. And now, of course, it's called Iran. And look up the history of Persia and you'll find that they were extremely educated people in mathematics and science about the same time as the West were living in caves and using bows and arrows. A slight exaggeration, but you get my point. But I remember in the 70s, when Iran was an open society with women dressed in Western clothes and allowed to drive and all sorts of things. They had their freedom. And of course, all that ended with the emergence of the ayatollahs and the extreme rigid rules. However, most people believe that Iranians are Arabs, but they're actually not. They're not at all. And because Arab is rather a cultural and linguistic term. And Arabs are united by culture and by history. And Arabs are not a race. Some have blue eyes and red hair. Others are dark-skinned, many are somewhere in between. Most Arabs are Muslims, but there are millions of Christian Arabs and thousands of Jewish Arabs, just as there are Muslims, Christians and Jewish people throughout the world. My point is this. Iran is a peaceful country and has in the past used much restraint. But when it's being invaded and bombed and its leaders assassinated by an outside force, regardless of its patience, it will eventually retaliate, and quite obviously has done so. And after much deliberation and thought that went into it, they retaliated. And the raid, it seemed, was purely centred around military targets. And there was actually one casualty, a young Palestinian guy was killed by falling debris. And the Western press, it reports that all the missiles were intercepted. But from what I've seen, this is certainly not true. And any close search on social media will attest to that with video coverage. And where this will end in the Middle East is anyone's guess. But things need to drastically change, that's for sure. And 1948 was a critical point in history, but it has created a Pandora's box that is destined to be opened, and we all know what that means. And the consequences will be for the whole world to bear witness, and the madmen who run the world. And the one saving factor of Pandora's box, there was only one thing left in Pandora's box, and that was hope. And I hope we all have, and ideally wish that common sense prevails in the end, because the whole world is watching this. And many of those countries who are watching have a bitter past with America and are waiting to join the fight against imperialism. I'll leave a link to a video from Iran in the 70s, and it's really worth watching, only a few minutes long, but it was Iran in those days before the ayatollahs took over, and very interesting it is too. So thanks for listening. Bye-bye.